Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Deborah Garlick from Henpicked Menopause in the Workplace, Menopause Friendly and Director of Menopause Friendly Australia. And our special guest today, I think, needs no introduction. She's our superhero, Louise Minchin, and a particular I'm such a big fan. Not only did Louise get everybody talking on BBC Breakfast about menopause when it really was taboo, but she's also the host of our Menopause Friendly Employer Awards, which are about 7 weeks away. Louise, if you can believe that.
I can. It's in my diary. Don't worry, I will be there and I shall look forward to it.
Thank you. And today I've invited Louise to come and talk to us about her fabulous book, Fearless Adventures with Extraordinary Women. This was my holiday read. I came back on Sunday night, so I thoroughly enjoyed this, Louise. So thank you very much for writing it and getting it out just in time before my holidays.
Well, thank you very much indeed for taking it on your holidays, because at the moment it's in hardback, so it's a heavy tome to take, but hopefully it's a series of adventures. And I think we just talked a second ago, you can read it. I mean, it's quite, it's a quick read. You can read it in any order you like, compared to other books where obviously you have to read in chronological order. But hopefully I don't know how it's made you feel, but inspired, it's fun. These women are amazing. They're intrepid, they're brave, they've done fabulous things. And I got to spend time with them and tell you about it.
Oh, you say, how did you read it? I actually started at the contents page. I mean, it's very nice that it's got pictures in there, but I went through and I thought, Adventures with Extraordinary Women. Okay, which one of these ones can I do? Which one of these ones? Where would I start with these? And the paddleboarding ones were particularly interesting. The Alcatraz swim, not so much. I've been to San Francisco. There are a lot of sharks in the bay. I was actually more in the place of, is that fearless or just bonkers? I wouldn't join you on that one. But yes, as you say, it's nice because it's great chapters that you can just read something really inspiring just for a little bit and then pick it up again when you come back. So perfect.
I want to just talk a little bit about what you said, that is it fearless or is it bonkers? So that chapter, so basically each chapter I met a woman and went to do the thing that she loved, a woman who, as far as I'm concerned, is breaking boundaries in sport and endurance and adventure. And actually there were two in that one, because I went to Alcatraz. One of the things I love swimming, and one of the things I really wanted to do and have in the book was the sort of iconic swim, the swim from Alcatraz, from the island where the prison is, to San Francisco across the bay. And you talk about the sharks, because there are sharks in the bay, but I always try and rationalize things so that I kind of know what the facts are. And yes, sharks do inhabit the bay, but it's not infested by sharks. And the last time I think there was an attack on a shark, on a person, on a human, was really many years ago. I think it was in the 1920s. So that's how I rationalize things. But actually, when you jump off a ferry in that extraordinary swathe of dark water and you can see San Francisco over a mile away, the sharks seem pretty real. And as you'll know, something did touch me in the water, and I'm not going to give it away to everybody watching. By the way, thank you very much for joining, everybody, what it was. But something did touch me in the water, and it wasn't a human, was it? But let's leave it at that.
Well, actually, that was the first one I read this. I thought, oh my goodness! But then quite a few of the other extraordinary feats, things that people are doing. I thought, actually, I could do that. I could do that. But before we sort of jump into the content, what was it that made you write this book?
Well, it's quite a long story, that, and I'll try and do it briefly, but it was a kind of culmination of lots of different things that had been going on. First of all, and it's quite well publicized, this, I'd had an equal pay battle at the BBC to be paid the same as the person sitting next to me. That had taken a long time, a lot of hard work, and actually sort of collaborative action between a lot of women at the BBC, because we all realized at the same time. I mean, I knew that I wasn't being paid the same as my co-presenter, or hadn't been in the past. But I didn't know that actually had happened to a lot of other people. Anyway, so I had a long and difficult how would I describe it? Fight, battle to get to the point when I was being paid equally. And the really important thing about that for me was not so much for myself, but for other people, because I just didn't want the next person who got my job to be in the same position. I wanted everybody to be in an equal position. So that happened. And then the other thing I noticed after that, subsequently, because once you start noticing things, you can't really stop noticing. I started noticing that when I had a new presenter who sat next to me, that always the male presenter, whoever it was, would start the program. I mean, I say always, it wasn't exactly always, but most of the time they'd start the program, they'd do the first, they'd say hello first, they'd read the headlines possibly first, they'd do the first interview. So lots of things that would happen all the time. And I just thought, I've been here for like 15 years at this point. I'm the most experienced person sitting here on the sofa. Why is it and how is it that I don't get to say hello first? And that was sort of percolating in my brain. And then what really brought it to the fore, and this is why talking to other people is so important. I was at a charity event and a woman came up to me and said, Louise, how is it that you've been there for longer and you never get to start the program first? And I thought, well, if the audience with other women are noticing that, what kind of message does that send to people who are, doing well in their careers, have been there for many years, but at the same time, they're kind of not automatically the number one, or sometimes the number one. Anyway, long story short, I knew, having had a sort of difficult discussions over equal pay, that I needed my evidence. So I sat over a period of 3 months and I took notes about who started when and what and how, and we did the first interview, et cetera, et cetera. And I was right. Pretty much 90% of the time, it wasn't me. So I took that evidence to my boss and he changed it, which was great. But, and then again, noticing things at that point, I'd taken up sport as a solace to, and as a real kind of aid to being able to do a stressful job. I had found that sport was brilliant at supporting me through that and giving me space to kind of get over difficult things and just a space for quietness. And I became an endurance athlete, which is kind of a surprise to me sitting here saying that now. And I just was so invested in and inspired by stories of endeavor and heroics and climbing the highest mountains and running the furthest distances. And I got really, I'm so privileged. I got to interview lots of people doing that. And again, I suddenly noticed one morning, gosh, why is it the people we speak to doing this are always men? Is it that women don't do this, or is it that we don't speak to them? And the book is the answer to that question.
It is. And actually, the thing I liked about the people that were in the book, and one of them, when I was reading it, I won't say who each one is, but I was thinking, that's actually near me. I could go and join her, paddleboarding. I could go and do that. That's near me. So they are sort of everyday women. They
are. They're all, and they're all the reason. We can discuss long and hard about why women don't make the headlines, perhaps in the same way when they're doing these amazing things. But the thing that came out so shiningly obvious from every single one of them, and these are people who have Guinness World Records. They have climbed Everest twice. They've rode around Britain. They've cycled across countries. They've won in, Mimi Anderson is one of the world's most successful endurance runners, and she does an endurance run. These could be 100-mile run, and then just for fun, what she'll do is she'll run from the finish to the start before everybody else has started running, and then run back with them. I mean, she's an extraordinary person. But the clearest thing that I got from all of them, they were all so modest, and they're just doing it because they love it, and they're not doing it for kudos or for headlines or for not even for sponsorship. The only sponsorship they want is to be able to do these incredible things. But they are very, very modest. And that was really a kind of inspiring thing to see. So they do all seem, I think, relatable. I think every one of you who's listening today, whether you're male or female or wherever you come from or whatever you do, you will find someone in that book. You can go, oh, do you know what? Maybe I could give that a go. They're a little bit like me. And I just think that's what is one of the most important things to get out of the book.
Yeah, which is where I got to with the content list and thinking, well, I could give that a try. I could give that a try. Not so much the one where you would the free diving under ice in the dark. Which you know, my question would be to you: which of these what do you call them? Feats, heroics,
Adventures, maybe
adventures,
challenges.
Oh yes, as it says in the title. Which one of these adventures did you enjoy doing the most?
I think you probably put your finger on it, and it was the one that I think most people are finding the most challenging, which was the free diving under ice in the dark. And I'm just going to take you all back a step, because so free diving, what is it? It is diving underwater, going underwater on your own breath. So you take a big deep breath and then you dive under the water. And there's lots of, I mean, you know, I had no knowledge about free diving before I did this. There's lots of different things you can do. You can dive deep, you can dive far, you can just hold your breath underwater, lots of different ways of doing it. Two things to know. It's extremely dangerous. You know, very experienced people have lost their lives doing free diving, number one. So number two, actually, there's going to be three now. Number two, you never, ever do this alone. And number three, you have to be a qualified free diver. So first thing I did when Kath Pendleton, who's an amazing woman who I went to do this with, and she is an ice swimmer, and she has the Guinness World Record for swimming the southernmost ice mile, and that was in the Antarctic Circle. So that's in temperatures just above freezing. She swam a mile in only a swimming costume and a swimming hat. She is beyond, she's superhuman I mean, if I went in that water and I'm a swimmer, I'd be in very serious trouble, like on the edge of losing my life, probably after about a couple of minutes. Anyway, I clearly can't swim in that kind of water. So she said, let's go free diving in Finland. And the first time, so I went and did a course. She had to do a course. The first thing you also have to learn is how to hold your breath for a very long time. And the first dive I ever did after doing my course, and that included practical, like doing an exam, and then also practical, you know, going to pools and doing 2 long sessions in the pool. First dive I ever did was with me and Kath, both of us walked across a frozen lake in Finland in the dark, and we had to get into this hole, which is a triangular hole about 1 meter thick, dug into the ice, get into I mean, I can't explain the darkness of that water. It was like a black hole. Get into that water wearing a wetsuit, just to be clear, and then swimming along about 15 meters to come up the other side in a similar matching triangular hole. And everything, I don't look at your face, everything about that is wrong, isn't it? Everything's wrong. I mean, why would you? And when I went in, the first thing that happened was I was pressed up against the ice, because you're buoyant, because wearing a wetsuit and we've got sort of air in our lungs, obviously, because you need it. The first thing that happens is you get pressed up against the ice. So you're in the dark and your face is pressed against this ice and you can't even swim. First thing I had to do was work out how to do that. And I worked out quite quickly. I needed to push myself away from the ice. And, you know, I mean, it's just like the overwhelming tsunami of catastrophic thoughts happen. And then there's a moment of complete Zen-like floating. I mean, it's like this environment which is completely alien to me, but incredibly beautiful. And then again, you know, 20 seconds later, the panic. I'm never going to get out. I'm never going to see my family again. And so many things. I think, you know, we can sort of, I try and do a little bit of analysis about myself. There is no doubt I love adrenaline. And I came out, and all those endorphins that you get from pushing yourself beyond your boundaries, I came out laughing my head off, literally. And the first thing I said was, I want to do it again. And I went straight back and did it again. So I do think I have, I think it's not for everyone, but for me, free diving is just it's just such a exhilarating, empowering, overwhelming experience. And I'm definitely going back to it. Only last night, I've started doing all my breathing exercises again, because I'm going to see Kath in September and we will go and do some more.
That's absolutely amazing. By the way, the chat is full of people going,
Hello,
oh
chat.
my gosh, my anxiety levels are off the scale here. This sounds absolutely terrifying. But you finished there by saying about your endorphins and it feeling exhilarating, and you know, something about pushing yourself. There were some themes I felt through the book around and some of that about pushing yourself and doing something different. actually has an impact on you.
And I want to thank you very much for mentioning that. I should say, everybody, I mean, maybe it's very, because you write these things and you do these things, then you don't know what impact they're going to have on people. And I didn't sort of realize that the writing in that ice diving, and maybe the way I describe it, is so vivid. People have genuinely said they've had anxiety dreams because of it. So maybe I should have put a sort of warning on it. But it's so interesting because you don't sort of realize that until the book goes on its own journey into the world, does it? So but there are wonderful, there are walks, there's paddleboarding, there's cycling, there's lots of other things in there for you as well. But you make that point about what do you get out of it, or what do I get out of it? What do other people get out of it? And this could be pushing yourself in. What I try and stress in the book is in your own individual way. But I spent some time with amazing women called, I say everybody's amazing because they are, Belinda Kirk, and she's an explorer, and she's a very well-regarded, very well-experienced explorer. She leads expeditions all over the world. And she and I did this fantastic walk across Dartmoor. It was a 2-day walk. And, I say walk, it was very hard because we were both short of time, we're working mums, we did a 3-day walk in 2 days. But she was really, really good about the transformative power of adventure, and why we should all, perhaps if we've got time and want to, take on challenges. So this is I'm just going to quote from the book, if that's okay. This is from her, what she says. Choosing a challenge that you find intimidating can unlock your potential because it shows you can do much more than you think you can. You're much more capable than you think you are. That is a huge confidence booster, and it doesn't have to be a huge challenge. We all underestimate ourselves, particularly women. People are most limited by their own attitude, their own belief in themselves. If you can unlock that and embrace some discomfort, you can be more fearless, bolder, and build resilience. And I'm just going to go on because I think you'll be interested, and hopefully people taking your mini lunch break, by the way, thank you, I will be. She goes on, I think there's this feedback loop of accomplishment. And with those feelings of joy and awe, you can keep growing. You can take those skills, that self-belief, and that change in you to the rest of your life. That is how adventure can be transformational. If you step out of everyday life, do something adventurous, you go back into other areas of your life, your career, your relationship, as a different person, bringing these gifts with you. And that's one of those key things, as she puts it beautifully, that I've learned through my own, what I call sort of endurance career or adventure that I've been on.
That's amazing to hear that, because there are lots of comments from people saying how inspiring this is, but where do you get started? I mean, I mentioned the contents page because I was looking through this and thinking, can't do that one, nope, can't swim, no, but actually the cleaning up on a paddleboard, I thought, yeah, actually that's right up my street. I'm so tidy.
Oh, you'd love that.
So it's finding something, and everybody seemed really passionate about what they were doing in this, but how do you get going? How do you spot something you think, I can do that?
That's a really interesting thing. I think the only way to do any of these is to start slowly. I mean, if you, for example, let's take running as an example. You're never going to run a marathon in the first month that you start running. You're probably not even going to run 5K in that first month. The way to do it is to start slowly, start with small goals. Like, for example, I've had so many injuries over the years, and I've had to start running again from scratch many times. Couch to 5K is an absolutely brilliant way of doing it. And there's if you look it up on the app, that's absolutely fantastic. I think let's go to the paddleboarding, because she found it was Lizzie Carr who did that. And again, she's got 2 Guinness World Records now. She was in recovery from cancer, and she was just sitting on a beach, and she saw somebody on a paddleboard, and she's just thought, oh gosh, that looks really beautiful and tranquil, and I want to give it a go. And she just gave it a go and just fell in love with it. I went indoor climbing as well, and one of the things I did, and I've never been indoor climbing before. And with this woman called Anusha Hussain, who's a para climber, and what she gets out of doing that, and watching on her on the wall was mesmerizing, because she's missing a bit her arm below one of her elbows, and she just moves sort of fluidly across the wall, and she in that moment is removed from all the things that she finds difficult in her life, and she's just engaged in this beautiful sport which she loves. So find something that you love, and it may not be the first thing that you try. Give lots of different things a try. I mean, I played rugby for the first time in this book. My gosh, I wish that I'd taken up rugby 30 years ago, because I absolutely loved it. So start small, start with small goals, and try lots of different things. And then the one key thing, I've not been able to do much over the years, but I have done recently, is to get somebody to do it with you. You know, Deborah, find a paddleboarding friend. You can go and potter about, you can make all the mistakes, you can fall in, and all the rest of it. And then another key thing, just to add to all of that, because you know, the women in this book take safety very, very seriously. And for paddleboarding, for example, you know, you should, if that's what you choose, go and find someone like Lizzie, or find an instructor who will give you an hour's instruction, because none of these people take what they do lightly. You know, safety is absolutely paramount. So get that nailed off first. But yeah, there's lots of bits of advice there, but find somebody to do it with, because that's so empowering. My daughter and I have just run the London Marathon together, and there are so many training runs I would not have gone on had she not been with me. And she wouldn't have done any of the long runs without me. She just wouldn't have done them at all. So it makes you turn up on the day. There's swims I go on because there's a friend of mine who swims near me who hates swimming on her own. So she texts me, and she's not doing this, but I feel so guilty that I know she won't go if I don't go. So I go. So yeah, probably too much advice, but hopefully a little bit of that you can take away.
Amazing. I'm just going to check with my friend Sally to see fancy some paddleboarding, Sally.
There you go.
Definitely. I'd love
we
to
can do it when you're next in there. Well, why not? Because I do the same thing as you. I go to the gym because I know people will save me a space, and if I don't go, they've saved me a space. Or
that's lovely.
So it's just one of those things that keep me doing it on the days that I don't feel like it. And obviously nothing like under ice swimming or anything else like that.
It doesn't have to be that mad.
You're inspiring everybody else. And I would also say, as we did at the last Lunch and Learn with Her Spirit, join Her Spirit. They're amazing for cheering you on. And the Henpick team join the monthly challenges.
Oh, do you? Well, hopefully you're joining one that I'm taking part in at the moment. So this weekend, actually, Her Spirit. So do look up Her Spirit. I do a podcast for them, and they are brilliant at trying to, take you in at sport at all different levels. From couch to couch to kilos is a brilliant weightlifting program that we've got, and you literally lifting kilos of sugar. You don't even need any equipment. But this weekend we're doing a relay across Windermere. So I'm part of that, which is super exciting. I don't have to swim the whole of Windermere, but I will be swimming bits of it.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to put a link to Her Spirit in here, and I'll also put one to your book before we go to Q&A, because Louise is on the One Show on Thursday. So anything that we can do to get this into the bestseller list will be very much appreciated. So
Deborah,
to that as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you want to buy the book, if you could do a massive favor and buy it this week, because that's what you need to get in the bestseller charts. It's all the dark arts, as I call them. You need lots of people to buy it in the same week. So I'm hoping that I'm on the One Show and some of you buy it. Then it's been on various bestseller charts, including #1 in outdoor survival skills, which I never imagined it would be on. So who knew?
Absolutely. We've had some lovely recommendations of people that have read it, just to say,
thank you.
It. Very inspirational. I finished it thinking, right, what can I do? I've been recommending it to everyone. So we've had
thank you, whoever that is. Appreciate that.
And loads of inspiring. Someone's learning to roller skate at 56. So we've got some amazing things that people are sharing, but also being really supportive of each other about that whole thing of starting with something that feels manageable.
Yeah.
Within what you've got the time for, what you've got the capability for. But I've got a couple of questions for you. One has asked, what's still on your bucket list to do, Louise?
Oh, that's a good question. And hi to Linda, who met me on a swim in Bala. Hi, Linda. On my bucket list, that's a really good question. I think there's a run that I want to do, and I've not said the name out loud because again, one of those things is my advice to you when you take on a challenge is tell people, because as soon as you tell people, you become accountable. So that's the reason I'm not saying it is because it's really scary for me. Running is not, I mean, swim would be much easier for me. So there's a run I want to do next year, and I may do that. I'm not sure what else actually. I'm sort of, but taking a bit of a a time for reflection. I'm doing the swim this weekend, and then I'm doing another one. I'm doing the 3 Yorkshire Peaks in September. And if anybody wants, Deborah, I might give you the link to that, because I'm doing that with 2 of the women in the book. It's for a charity called Move, which helps young people with cancer get back into exercise. One of them is Lucy Gossage, and another lady called Caroline Bramwell. She's in the book, and she does triathlon with a stoma. I mean, she's gobsmacking what she does. And you can come and join me on that. So it's the 3 Yorkshire Peaks. I think it's 16th of September. And if you want to come and help raise money and be part of that, that would be amazing. So I'll send you the link. If that's okay. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Fantastic. Next question we've got is, what, with everything you've learned from doing the book, is there any advice you would go back and give to a younger Louise?
What would my advice be? Well, first bit of advice is not really from the book, but it's just personal experience. I gave up swimming age 15 because I didn't like the way it made me look physically. If I could go back and shake that Louise and say, do not give up this amazing thing, which helps you physically, mentally, you know, hold your hand through tough times, do not give it up. So I would say that, because then I think it would have, I really feel like sport sort of holds my hand through things actually and helps support me. Other things I've learned, I think back to that thing about planning. I mean, last year, because I was trying to do so many different things, it ended up being it was really hard because I just, learned how to free dive and then had to do a triathlon or whatever. So I think planning, that would be the one thing that I've really taken away from them, better planning.
Fantastic. People have asked for recommendations of how you get into paddleboarding. Any paddleboard you recommend, how people start it, or things like that?
Oh my gosh. So there's another lady called, what's her name? Mosley. I'll have to give you her name. She's a brilliant paddleboarder. I feel bad I can't remember her name. And she is she's just written Lizzie Carr has written her own book about paddleboarding. And as I said, I'll pass on to Deborah the name of this other lady who's in her 50s, took up paddleboarding late in her 50s, and is like paddleboarding across most of the UK. She's absolutely fantastic. But there will be, wherever you go on the coast, there will be places that do paddleboarding on a coast, and for example, where I live near, there's an inland lake. But I would definitely, because I just got on a paddleboard and went paddleboarding, but having met Lizzie, I would definitely, get a couple of hours instruction beforehand, because it's just really useful. You know how to hold the paddle for starters.
Fantastic. And we've got loads of people asking for Fearless Book 2.
Have you? Have you? Gosh.
Really nice. And it was just a question, really, the final question of how did you pick the women? Because it must have been really hard to narrow it down to the women you chose.
Because there is so much space for Fearless 2 up till Fearless 25. That's the whole point about the book. There are so many women out there doing incredible things. When I first pitched the book, I think there were sort of 8 to 10 women who I wanted to be in it. I think I started off with Kath Pendleton, the ice swimmer, and probably Mimi Anderson, the runner. And then it sort of became like sort of a jigsaw actually, because there were women I definitely wanted to be in it. There were adventures I definitely wanted to be in it. And then what it became, because I was injured, I had a knee injury during most of the year, and I couldn't do much running. That was brilliant because it pushed me to other sports, which I wouldn't have done. So it became this sort of jigsaw, just all fitted into place in the end. And there are so many women who I wish could have been in there, but in the end of the day, there was only so many words and so much me, because I had to go and do all the adventures as well. So there's definitely space for more, and I'm always looking for suggestions. So thank you, but we haven't agreed a deal yet.
I think this needs to be a TV series as well.
Well, that's lovely. If anybody on this call knows a producer who would commission one, that would be great, because I have tried, Deborah. I've tried again. And you know me, I don't give up.
No, you don't.
But as yet, it's not been commissioned.
It's not been commissioned. Well, there you go. That's something that we can all look for then. That's our challenge to go away. I did put the link in, so hopefully lots of people buy this week.
Thank you.
And I do recommend it. It really is a superb book. And actually somebody in our book club got this by accident because I pressed the wrong button. So I hope you enjoyed it as well. But it really is worth it. It's a fantastic book. So thank Thank you very much for writing it, Louise. And thanks to everybody. Sally, the comments in chat with everybody cheering each other on and starting out on our own adventures. Maybe that's a t-shirt that we'll wear.
Listen, I'm loving reading the comments. I don't know how I go on to read them once this has ended, but thank you very much indeed for all your comments, everybody. Oh, there are fearless t-shirts. I have them, by the way.
Oh my gosh, there you go. I'll put a link to the fearless t-shirts as well. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and thank you, Sally, for looking after the chat, and of course to the amazing Louise Minchin. Thank you very much for joining.
Listen, I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for your comments, and I'll see if you can send them afterwards, because I can't read them all when they're time. But thank you so much. It's been really enjoyable, and thank you for letting me talk about something that I love doing and clearly, I'm passionate about. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a fabulous week, everyone, and we'll send on the recording. All the best, everyone. Bye.